Hey, this is Mike. Welcome to Volume 1, Number 5, Developing a Content Strategy Funnel for Your Website to Grow Traffic and Convert Leads.
Welcome to the Halftime Mike Podcast, presented by basketball fan and Hoosier native Mike Gingrich, where practical, no-nonsense resourcing on social media, business marketing, and life is presented. Because the adjustments made at halftime help you win the game in the second half.
Hey there, this is Mike Gingrich with the Halftime Mike Podcast. Glad to have you with me. In this episode, I'm going to talk about creating a content strategy to grow your website traffic. All right, because if you don't have a strategy, then any old path will do. How are you going to know whether you're getting where you want to be? With all things in life, setting milestones, setting goals, having a strategy for where you want to be, and then backing up how are you going to take steps to get there is critical. And so for every small, medium-sized business, it's important to take a look at your website assets and determine, how are they working for you? How are they helping you convert your goals? It's not just enough to have a website, to have a blog, to have social media accounts, but how are those all working in sync together in a strategic way to bring people in? And I want to talk about a content funnel, a sales funnel, a pipeline that you can take a look at and work through and develop so that it'll help you take a look at the different types of content you're going to need. Now, but first, just a word on strategy. You know that I call this podcast Halftime Mike because I'm a Hoosier native and basketball lover, and just want to give you a story that will help us today focus on why it's important to have an end goal in mind. I want to talk to you about a basketball player. His name is Victor Oladipo, and he was just recently drafted as a number 2 pick in the NBA draft this spring by the Orlando Magic. He was from Indiana University. And let me give you a little background on Victor Oladipo. Victor Oladipo was from Maryland, and in high school, he was a very good player, but he was not like one of those, top 5, can't miss kind of guys. He was recruited by a number of schools, including Pittsburgh, Notre Dame, Indiana, and so, some top schools, some Division I great schools, but he was not in that elite group. I mean, he was top 50, so he was known as a very good player, but he chose Indiana, Coach Tom Crean. And when he got there, Victor is a guard, 6'4" guard, so, decent height, not overwhelming, but Coach Tom Crean thought he had potential, but what he didn't know exactly was just how driven, focused, and strategic Victor Oladipo was. And the story goes that, over the course of time, Victor left school early now as a junior when he was drafted in the NBA. And what he had done in that time period was, number one, he graduated. So this guy was a college athlete, Division I, and took his studies so seriously that he was able to graduate with a 4-year degree in 3 years. And he moved up the ladder from, maybe a top 50 player coming out of high school to be the number 2 pick. And he's listed as one of the top to be expected for Rookie of the Year honors in the NBA. So he went from top 50 to number 2 pick in the NBA draft. And the story goes that the coaching staff was amazed because they would go through all their drills, all their preseason drills, all their workout drills, and then they had to have staff begin staying afterwards to keep the gym open for Victor Oladipo because he worked out more than anyone else they had ever seen before. He would do everything they asked of him, and then he would spend extra hours himself developing specific skills. He had a strategy for his three-point shooting development. for his dribbling, for his defense, for his physical fitness, and he worked at those things. It became so intense and just unexpected that the coaching staff told the story after he was drafted that this was the first player that they had to begin taking practice equipment along on road trips when the IU team would go to play at other schools, because after the teams walk through and practices, they had to set up equipment because Oladipo wanted to work out further himself. They had to take cones along, different things, so that he could run the drills that were part of his development. And so, there's a strategy. Victor Oladipo had a goal in mind. He wanted to get to the NBA, not just to the NBA. He wanted to be, a lottery pick, move up, be an elite player. And so he did what everyone else was doing. That's what all the IU players were doing, which was a lot. This is a top program. They were ranked number one quite a bit throughout the past year in the basketball season, college basketball. So he did everything they asked, but in addition, he did an incredible amount more. He had a plan and a strategy for his physical development, for his skill development in shooting, in dribbling, in all those areas, as well as for his academic development, a plan that he would be able to graduate in 3 years. So, that's a testament to a young man who had a plan, had a vision, developed a strategy for that, and went after it, and was rewarded with being the number 2 pick in the NBA draft. So I'm looking forward to watching Victor Oladipo play for the Orlando Magic in this upcoming season. And how does that translate to us? Again, you can do what everyone else is doing. You have a blog, you put some content out, and you're going to have potentially some success with that. But the difference is setting yourself apart is creating a content strategy, a pipeline. You need different types of content for your site in that regard. So let's just talk through that. In the first segment here, at the top of the funnel, and I'll have a visual on this on my blog post with this podcast. You'll be able to find that at halftimemike.com and take a look at that visual. But the first stage, the top of the funnel, is you need content that is engaging and shareable. This is content that appeals to a wide range of an audience, and you need it to be engaging and shareable because of the value of social media in extending the reach of your content further, by people tweeting it, by people sharing posts on Facebook, by people commenting on that, by all social media means, Google Plus and beyond. By having highly shareable content that meets a wide range of people's needs, you can help yourself move forward in that. Now, there's a couple keys within that. What are things that you say, hey, I'm in one industry? Well, you take a look at me. So, I'm work as a co-founder of TabSite. So we're a Facebook application for businesses. And our application works, on Facebook pages. But in my content writing, yes, I talk about Facebook quite a bit. And but I also talk about other things, Twitter, Google Plus, Google Analytics, and like this, content on your blog, because all of that is important. So I take a look at social media, digital marketing content, and that's the arena I write in. I try to take a look at things that are what can be compelling information, what's leading edge thought, what's something new, my take on it, what's breaking news. If I can try to be one of the first ones to report on a Facebook change and update and what this means for businesses, hey, that's helpful information that a lot of people want to know about. If I can find some things that are data backed, if I can show, hey, this is what's happening in the trends. Mobile users are increasing now. It's over 71% on Facebook. That type of information, and can get that out there. That's highly shareable content. And if I can package that in images, in video clips, in podcasts, and particularly in things like infographics, that is content that people want to share. Because where do infographics go? I can put that on my blog. And people want to put that on Facebook. They'll want to tweet about that. Do you know that the most clicked on links in Twitter are images, and of course as well, Pinterest is image driven, and so people are always posting infographics to Pinterest, that type of thing. But all of that, if I can get that information out, it's of value, then other people want to share that, and they extend it out to their communities. Ultimately, that can always mean more traffic coming back to my blog. Okay, so that is what you want to do in the first stage of your content funnel pipeline, is to create content that is engaging and shareable. This is the broad end, things that people want to share, all with the goal of driving traffic to your blog, to your website. Okay, you want to draw them in. And stage 2 then is the next phase, and that is to take a look at problem-solving content. Okay, because once we get them there, then we want to take a look at engaging them and interesting them. Okay, so now they're on our site, they're learning about what your product or service is, what problems that they may be experiencing can you solve. That's what you want to talk about. And ways to do that are through case studies. Hey, this is the problem we solved for this client. This is what their issue was, and this is how we solved it. Ebooks can do this. Other forms of content can also be used here that solves problems. For example, podcasting, webinars, speak to issues that businesses face and how your product or service can solve that problem. So this is what we call stage 2. This is the problem-solving content. So you want to have focused content that draws people to your website, number 1, and now number 2, problem-solving content that takes a look at how your product and services can help solve a problem that they have that other people have. And what we want to do at this stage is we want to gain their interest and convert them to a lead so that they're no longer an anonymous visitor, but they are a known entity. We have an email address at least, at a minimum. And the way we do that is by having opt-in forms at the end of our problem-solving content. We have landing pages and call-outs, calls to action that drive to a ebook, of information, problem-solving information, case study information, where in order to access that information in full, we can give them a teaser of that, but to access it in full, they need to give us their name and email address, because the end goal of this problem-solving stage 2 is that we've converted people who are interested into leads, a known entity that we can then market to further, because now we know their name, we know what they opted into, so we have a understanding a bit of what their interest is. And then the third stage, and there's only going to be 3 today, there's a lot more we could do on this, but I want to keep it practical for you, is the third stage is content for driving the sale. All right, this is specific content that helps close the deal, seal the deal, so to speak. All right, this is going to be geared towards content that is focused on what is going to be their return on investment. If they invest, X with you in this product or service, what is Y the outcome that they can expect from this? All right, ROI calculators, further case studies that go into this, talking about information that talks about efficiencies they're going to gain by using your product or service, and a formula to show them how they can use this and increase sales by this is the type of content you want here. So we've narrowed that funnel down. We know that they're interested in stage 2 because they've opted into some information. And so now our goal and our content is geared towards helping them answer those final questions that they have so that they're ready to make a purchase. All right, that's the sales funnel. And once we've got them to complete a purchase, we want to make sure our service, our customer support is helpful and outstanding so that they become, loyal customers and brand ambassadors. They're going to be ones that we can count on then at the top end of the funnel, stage 1, again, to share our content in that top of the funnel to their communities and say, hey, I recommend these guys to you. So that's what we're talking about today, is developing a content strategy for your blog, for your website.